So I work primarily with kids that are not involved in church ministry at all whatsoever. They know very little about Scripture, and they know very little about Christians. And one of the things that Gitche Gumee's really helped with is, at First Baptist, it's taken sometimes their whole high school experience, 4 years, to get them to go from maybe showing up to one youth event to actually trying out a service at church. And often what they experience in a youth group or at church, they tend to hold you at arm's length, and they think that maybe you're faking it or you're lying to them. And when I can get them to come out to Gitche Gumee for a week, they come back with a totally different experience. They end up being around Christians who have the hope, the peace, and the joy that Jesus Christ offers us all the time. And they see that that hope is real, that that peace is real. They see people treating each other with the love of the gospel. John 13:34 talks about, by this all men will know that you're my disciples, by the way you love one another. And they come out here and they see us loving each other. They see unconditional love. And by the end of a week, they're so overwhelmed with that they come back from an experience at Gitche Gumee and they actually want what we have. They actually want to listen during the Bible study time. They want to come to youth group. They're interested in coming to church. They don't think we're lying to them anymore. They actually want to hear the truth that we've been sharing with them. And so it really gives us a catapult forward into their lives and to be able to speak truth and encourage them in understanding the gospel. So just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, we had a kid in our youth group who, and this is very typical of our community, they just had never experienced unconditional love. And at every level they had been taught that love is conditional and that based on how you act will be the condition on whether we'll love you or not. And that was coming from their parents. And so to get them out here for a week, I mean, they had spent time in our home, they'd been in our youth group, they'd been in our church, in our Sunday school program, but to get them out here for a week and then eventually actually had them out here working for a summer and to be out here around people who truly love them unconditional, even when they did things that were wrong, made mistakes, had a bad attitude, we just kept loving them. They literally, their life just changed overnight. They really wanted what we had. That young girl has completely transformed her life, and the outcome of those experiences are just incredible. The hard part about that situation is most of these kids come from homes where mom and dad do not value any type of camp experience. In fact, they're coming from homes where their income is somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a year, if that. Most of them are living on public assistance. And so when you go to the front door and they have several siblings and you say, hey, we'd really like you to come to camp this year, will you let your kids go if I bring them? And then you tell them it's going to cost them $600 or $800 for their kids to go to camp. I've literally had parents laugh in my face. It's just not even a feasible number for them to accomplish. And so that's where the scholarship fund comes in. And it really empowers my ministry as a pastor. I can tell you honestly that everybody within a 3-block radius of my house knows where to go to talk about scholarship money for Gitche Gumee. They know where the pastor of the church lives. They've been at my home. They've knocked on my door. I know their kids' names. I know their parents' names. I've been in most of their homes to talk to them about Gitche Gumee. And so it empowers my ministry as a pastor, which is incredible. And it gives me an opportunity to help them be able to get here. There's just no way their parents, honestly, in some ways, I don't even think if their parents had the money, they've just never been to church. They don't have any concept of the value of this ministry or this place. And so to say, yeah, I'll fork over $400 or $600 for my kids to go to camp for a week, it's just not a feasible number for them to accomplish that. So one of the things that's been on Robbie's heart as we've talked, because we're close friends, is how can he help the ministry he has with these teens or with these young people from a week transfer into ministry for the course of a year. And so that's something that he's passionate about, that's on his heart. And I had my doubts at first, but one of the things I received in the mail this year, which just really blew me away, camp's over, we're several weeks into the summer, and I get this envelope in the mail, and every single kid that came from our Awana program. And we have over 60 people in our Awana program, and we sent a lot of kids. And every single kid that came from our youth program, and every single kid that came from our Sunday school program, on that list was, this is what our counselors talk to your kids about this week. These are the questions that they have about the gospel. These are the things that you can say or talk to them about or do to encourage their faith and their walk with God. And this is where they stand with Jesus. As of this week, this is where they're at with the gospel, whether they're a Christian or not, whether they still have doubts or not, whether they need questions answered. That, for me, was incredible, because as a pastor, when I think of, somewhere around the neighborhood of 30 or 40 kids from all different ministries in my community and in my church, I don't have time to go connect with each one of those kids and ask each one of those kids those questions. But now I have something to hand my Awana leaders and say, hey, look, this is where Austin's at. I have something to hand my Sunday school teachers and say, hey, look, this is what's going on in Gabe's life. These are the things you can talk to him about. That empowers me as a pastor to be more effective in ministry in areas that I had never anticipated. The other thing I'm excited about with that is there's kids coming from our community that aren't connected with our church yet, and it gives me a follow-up. Hey, this is somebody from Calumet. This is where they're at with the gospel. This is the questions they have. This is how you can encourage their faith. And I could send an Awana commander or a Sunday school teacher or even my wife, myself, go connect with those kids, invite them to a ministry, and have the opportunity to connect with them on a personal level and start with a foundation, know where they're at in their understanding of the gospel and in their relationship with Jesus. So this is what you need to understand about Gitche Gumee family camps. And this is something that I don't think most people know, because it's kind of behind the scenes. When we ask somebody to come and speak at Gitche Gumee as a missionary or as a Bible teacher, we ask them to come and speak, but we also tell them that they're here to minister to the families that week. And most of the people that come, I would say in being around this place for the last 6 years, I've never experienced anybody who didn't come with this attitude. They come with the attitude of being here to minister 24/7. And so we have all kinds of things going on during the week that are incredible and a great time. It's a good time to connect with other families and build community and go on great trips and you get some great Bible teaching, and that really challenges people's hearts. But the things for me that I think are the most important is the conversations that happen at the picnic table when somebody's struggling with their wife and they don't know what to do. When somebody's struggling with their kids and they're not real sure how to develop them into the next phase of their walk with Christ. When somebody just needs a little encouragement in their ministry, or they're struggling with sin and they're not sure how to overcome it. And I've watched over and over these pastors, these missionaries, and these teachers take the time to minister to them and counsel them and encourage them. And people leave refreshed. They leave having a great vacation. They leave with new Bible knowledge and a passion for missions. But often they leave with some incredible biblical counseling on a one-on-one level that you just can't get anywhere else, and it's free. They just get to enjoy that as they rub shoulders with these guys in ministry. Now, here's the downside of that. We only have enough room for so many families. We'd have to turn families away half of the weeks, or maybe even a little more than that per year that we run family camp. And part of that problem is that half of our buildings are taken up with staff. And don't get me wrong, we love our staff. They're incredible servants. But when you are taking up potential cabins that you could put families in for staff, it just gets really discouraging, because you're saying, sorry, you can't come to camp this week because I need to have people who wash dishes in that building. And so one of our future desires is to build a building where we can house our staff. We would like to be able to open those cabins up so that we could run a full week. We want to be able to have twice as many families on campus at the same time instead of just having half as many. We could put those families, those staff workers in one building and be able to house them sufficiently and still minister to them and have them minister to those families and have enough room to double the size of the camp really overnight. One of the things that's probably closest to my heart is the fact that every year now for 6 years, we've gotten to a point where I've had to stop going out and beating the bushes and knocking on doors and calling people on the phone to get more kids to come to camp. And it's not because we don't have any more space. I mean, we could add weeks. Every week of camp that I can remember, there's been more beds that could have been full, and there's been plenty of counselors and staff. The reality is there just hasn't been the money. Every single year, this year in fact, 3 weeks before camp started, I stopped making phone calls, I stopped knocking on doors, and the people in my street that I talked to and said, do you want to go to camp this year? I started saying, you better get your application in right away because they're running out of money. That's discouraging to me because there's so many people that need this message of the gospel that if we had more money coming in for the Charles Hart Scholarship Fund, we could continue to go after those kids and find those kids and add weeks of camp. I made a promise to you several years ago that if you give, I will find kids to come, and I have kept that promise, and I will continue to keep that promise. I will make sure that we give away everything that we have in that scholarship fund as long as Robbie lets me, and I will continue to go find kids to come to Gitche Gumee. Along with that, I'll tell you that the things that are growing here at Gitche Gumee are just incredible. The things that Robbie's brought along to make the program more exciting. The kids are excited about it. But there's a few things that we could add that would just blow these kids' minds. I mean, you talk about some things that some of our maintenance people that volunteer every year could build with a little bit of money. Some of them are small numbers, $5,000, $10,000. Some of them, there's some big numbers, some big vision ideas like high ropes courses and a zip line. You know, that might be a $50,000 ticket item, but that would blow these kids' minds. I have taken kids from my youth group to the movies for their very first time in their life at 13 and 14 and 15 years old, and that's only 10 miles away. So a zip line or a high ropes course would just rock their world. It would be an incredible experience, something they've never had or ever done before. So as we think about expanding the ministry, as we think about things we could add to the camp, and it really just being a matter of funds, the other side of that story is personnel. You can't run those kinds of ministries without more people. In fact, as I came 6 years ago, one of the things I talked to the board about was, I can't do this ministry by myself. And that's common in camp ministry. It's not a one-man show. You need people to be able to be on the road, to be program directors, to help run the youth ministry, to help run the family camps. One person will drive himself or his family into the ground trying to do it by himself. And so one of the big visions for the future of Gitche Gumee is to add a full-time program director. We would like to have someone on staff all year long, someone who can be the program director in the summer of the youth camps, help with program directing during family camps, with the kids that are here during family camps, and then in the off-season, do recruiting for staff, do recruiting for counselors, do recruiting for more family campers, getting connected with pastors in the area. In fact, one of the things we'd like that person to do with youth ministry is really get connected with the pastors and help the local pastors in the area do youth ministry. I'm a pastor of a church of about 80 people here in Calumet, and I don't have a youth pastor, and so trying to be that guy for everybody in my church is next to impossible. So to be able to run some events and have some help once in a while would be incredible. That would be a huge help to the churches of our local area.
While I was here in Gitche Gumee, God really moved in my life to show me that the path that I was on wasn't what He had planned for me, even though it wasn't wrong. He showed me more about how He can bring more joy into my life and direct my path to what His future was for me, and show me the great things that He wants to do in my life and what I can achieve by following His plan and moving in me to change me and change my heart to follow that path.
Hi, Bardell. The aurora lights that we encountered the other day, they were amazing. You know, it was just a testament of God's creation, God's handiwork. You know, God is so awesome. Just seeing how amazing and visible they were, just how, you know, how they were various colors. You know, God is just, He does so much past your expectations. And God taught me as I came here that when you come expectant, when you come ready to receive, that God can go surpass what your expectations were. And the very next day, we had aurora lights again, and it's just a testament of how God can perform miracles. God can perform miracles past your expectations, past what you even thought was possible. And, you know, it's amazing. And I recommend Gitche Gumee. I recommend just this place of peace and this utopia. It's amazing. It's so peaceful and quiet, and you can get in touch with God. You can get into His presence if you come expectant. And I definitely recommend it.
While I was up here in Gitche Gumee, I just felt the presence of God more. There's no distractions up here. There's no city. There's nothing. It's literally you and God, and you just draw so much closer to Him, and He changes your life drastically. There's no other way to get this peace inside your soul. And up here, you make so many great friends that there's no like electronics up here. You can't get any reception, so you have to make friends. I mean, so you get so much closer to everyone around you and so much closer to God.
What Gitche Gumee has done for me is just helped me realize what I've done back at home and how it's changed me, and how God is up here and the presence just changes you. And just coming together with all your friends and realizing that it's so much easier to get closer in God's presence and just get away from your distractions at home, and just learning to love one another and be closer to God and just wanting more of God.